In a not-so-distant future, a ball of inferno entered Earth's atmosphere. People scrambled, terrified of what it could be. Governments, world agencies, and even scientists didn't even know what to do. And the people lost faith in the very system they built. They were all lost in a collective moment. Though it was not an asteroid, but a giant ship. What comes out of the ship was a thunderous voice that could shatter the Earth. I am Galactus. The titan known for devouring planets greets them in typical boisterous fashion, but instead of seeking for food, he seeks to bring guidance. For too long, you have wallowed in war, bested by crime. In return for your homage, I bring you a new era. Preachers jump on their broadcast, preaching the good word of Galactus, spreading his gospel like an infection. Some question the validity of blindly following this new deity, but critics are silenced by brash mobs who took up arms admiring the power that Galactus displayed. Families hide in fear of what these mobs will do to them. The streets are ravaged, martial law ineffective, all while one figure, covered head to toe in silver, watches mournfully as the age of Galactus transpired. This is the setup for the story Herald, released in 1989 by writer Stan Lee and with art done by Mobius. The book tackles ideas of religion, fanaticism, and how powerful men are deified, as quote from the book's author Stan Lee, find themselves contemplating the destiny of man and questioning some basic tenets. And I bring all this up because I think this 2-issue story encapsulates everything that the Silver Surfer is. It's really not a story about triumphing evil, it's more or less a story about its characters being used to explore grand themes of human nature and religion, a vital part of the character, as Stan Lee would say.
And I don't remember the exact words, I'll just paraphrase it, but he would talk about the fact that we live in the greatest planet we could ever want. It has everything. It has clean, fresh air. It has sunlight, moonlight. Why do we fight each other? Why do we hate each other? Why is there, what's the matter with us? Are we insane?
He's not like other heroes in the Marvel Universe. It's more introspective. In Parable, it doesn't end with a fight between the Surfer and Galactus. Sure, there is a simple clash, but Galactus doesn't leave because the Surfer beats him in combat. Rather, the people see him for what he is, a mad god who does not care for the people of Earth, only exploiting them to kill one another so he can eat the planet without breaking his vow. Even after causing the death of a woman in a harrowing scene, Galactus doesn't even blink. He just says, what does a single life mean to a godly being like him? He's so above her, it shouldn't matter. But her passing weighs heavy on the Surfer's mind. He talks about seeing her final moments, how her eyes glimmered with hope as if a prayer was finally answered but were in sunder. After seeing that the people no longer worship him, he just gets on his ship and leaves Earth, and the Surfer has to pick up the pieces that are left. But humanity is bound to make the same mistake, that they are blind that the real faith lies with one another, but the Silver Surfer doesn't allow that to happen. In a ploy, he begins to spout the same rhetoric as Galactus. Soon, the worshippers turn and heckle him, insult him, forcing him to leave the planet. He doesn't know that the Earth will truly ever learn their lesson, but all he hopes for is that Earth will never lose its beauty as the issue closes. Human is a word I often see when discussing the Silver Surfer. They call him this very human character with how he struggles with feelings of guilt for his actions, but I personally feel this is a bit of a misread of what Stan and Jack Kirby were going for when creating this character. While it is true a lot of Jack Kirby's cosmology is used to analyze themes of authoritarianism, guilt, love, especially at his work in DC with the New Gods, they explore very human ideas, but we have to understand, these characters are on a galactic scale. We may feel guilt for what we said to a friend some odd years ago, but for someone like the Silver Surfer, he has bared witness to the destruction of countless civilizations. Unknown billions cry out in fear. He can recount each event in detail as none of what he does leaves his mind. Despite them being all-powerful, that power does not allow them to transcend the same emotion you and I feel. That emotions aren't so a human flaw, rather they are a universal truth. But they don't feel like we do. They're alien. They struggle understanding why we fight. They see things that would be massive to us as the little things. They feel like us, not because they're human, but because they're alive. Created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby for Fantastic Four in 1966, even before his inception in print, he was always a special figure to Stan and Jack. Now, typically, when comics are made, the writer writes the full script with a panel layout, characters, and poses before even a single line is drawn. But before writing the issue, Stan would visit Jack all the way in California. Now, Jack had already drawn the titular character, and when Stan saw him, he was enamored. Something about him was completely different from anything else he saw. He knew he was looking at something special. He was one of those rare cases where the character himself actually seems to determine how his creators will depict him. What I mean is you can't take a fella who looks purity personified and have him say something like, "I think I'll see those other dudes when I latch on to a few chicks tonight." As soon as I first set eyes on the Silver Surfer, I knew there was no way he could be depicted like a silvery show-off on a souped-up surfboard. I knew that the surfer would have his own distinctive style of speaking naive, trusting, otherworldly, and tinged with sadness. Sadness for the misery and misunderstanding he found throughout the planet Earth. Norrin was more introspective. He's a noble man who feels that he has the power to fix every problem, but he can't. He struggles with having to be Galactus' herald, dooming unknown trillions in the name of cosmic balance, and him having to lose his one true love. Born on the planet Zenn-La, after suffering a great war centuries ago, would become a utopia, exploring countless galaxies, overcoming poverty, war, and even labor as machines did most of their work. Though, despite being considered galactic heroes by many, they soon became apathetic and would withdraw, spending eternity closed off from the rest of space. But that leads us to our main character, Norrin Radd, a man from Zenn-La that was different from everyone else around him. Instead of being aloof towards the plights of the rest of the stars, he wanted to help them. Most wouldn't understand Norrin, believing what's even the point if these lesser beings will never accept their help. But the one person who was always at his side, Shalla-Bal, who was able to see the good that Norrin wanted to do, but couldn't fully grasp why he wanted to explore the galaxy. The people of Zenn-La were so used to their utopia that they unlearned their own history, science, and military tactics. If a single planet they met would prefer to invade them, it would mean the end of Zenn-La. But Norrin, the ever-optimist, believed under pressure the people of Zenn-La would come together to persevere. That optimism would be challenged as a massive ship descends from orbit. What emerges is, of course, Galactus, proclaiming that he is here to consume their planet to satiate his ever-growing hunger. The people of Zenn-La would soon devolve into blind madness. For the first time in generations, Zenn-La was under genuine threat, but one man stands up to this galactic titan. That man being Norrin Radd. He pleads with the giant. With nothing to bargain with, Norrin makes a desperate plea that he will become Galactus' herald to find other planets for him to eat. As a snap of Galactus' finger, and from that very moment, Norrin was dead, and what reappeared, a man encased in silver, with an iconic silver surfboard, the aptly named Silver Surfer, was born. He would return to his love, Shalla-Bal, to tell her the news of Zenn-La, but to also tell her about his departure. He couldn't bear the idea of her witnessing the atrocities he will soon be forced to witness. At first, he tried finding uninhabited planets for Galactus to eat, but he soon found out the hard truth. He will have to let a planet full of life fall, a truth that weighed heavy on his shoulders. He felt that it wasn't his place to weigh the worth of other lives. Ironically, the man who wanted to bring the gift of Zenn-La to others was forced to bring the curse of Galactus to many, an emotionless husk of once a great man. When the Silver Surfer arrives on Earth in Fantastic Four 48, what's immensely striking isn't his power, it's how emotionally absent he is. This is not the Norrin Radd who pleaded for Zenn-La. This version of the Surfer refers to Earth as a pebble, something small and disposable. By the time he reaches Earth, Norrin has already lived through the moral collapse of his own ideals. To continue as Galactus' herald, he has to distance himself from the consequences of his actions. Caring would make his role impossible. Guilt at a cosmic scale isn't something you process, it's something that destroys you. So the Surfer doesn't repress his emotions, he dissociates from them. He becomes colder, more aloof, not because he believes life is meaningless, but because acknowledging its meaning would shatter what little stability he has left. This is where Earth becomes important, not because it's special in a cosmic sense, but because it's forced intimacy. For the first time in centuries, the Surfer is no longer observing civilizations from orbit or watching them die from a distance. He's grounded. He's forced into proximity with the individuals rather than the populations. That difference matters. You can rationalize the death of billions as balance, but it's much harder to do that when you're sitting in a room with a single person. Alicia Masters is the turning point, not because she convinces him with logic, but because she treats him as present. She feeds him, she talks to him, she challenges him, and most importantly, she doesn't fear him. Her blindness becomes symbolic. She can't see the silver skin or the cosmic power, only the loneliness underneath, and that terrifies him more than Galactus ever could. When she tells him that he's not noble, that he's hiding behind indifference, it cuts deeper than any physical blow, because she's right. His apathy is an enlightenment, it's armor, and Earth, for all its chaos and violence, is the first place that starts to crack it. He would join the Fantastic Four, aiding them in their fight against Galactus, stalling enough time for Reed Richards to make the ultimate nullifier, but before departing, he turns towards the Surfer, disgusted in his actions, and strips him away and forbids him from leaving Earth's orbit. When the Silver Surfer is exiled to Earth, it's easy to read it as punishment, Galactus stripping him of his freedom out of spite, but thematically, Earth becomes something far more uncomfortable for Norrin Radd, a place that forces him to feel without offering absolution. Unlike the countless worlds he watches from orbit, Earth demands proximity. Here, the Surfer can't reduce life to statistics or necessity. People who fear him misunderstand him, and occasionally show him kindness without knowing who or what he truly is. That closeness reawakens something he had buried while serving Galactus, and yet even as he grows to love Earth, he never truly understands it. In all the galaxies, in all the endless reaches of space, I have found no planet more blessed than this. No world more lavishly endowed with natural beauty, with gentle climate, every ingredient to create a virtual living paradise. It is as though the human race has been divinely favored over all who live, and yet in their uncontrollable insanity, in their unforgivable blindness, they seek to destroy this shining jewel. And what's important here isn't just that he finds Earth beautiful, it's that he sees its value, precisely because he doesn't belong to it. The Surfer isn't blinded by entitlement. To him, Earth is miraculous, fragile, and probable, and that only deepens his sense of alienation. It forces him to confront his past actions and cements his guilt. Okay, I know I'm quite literally jumping from 10 US presidents, 13 Weezer albums, and 50 years worth of comic history by jumping straight to Silver Surfer Black. These books I'm about to talk about had a really big impact on me after reading them, and I want to talk about them today. So bear with me for the massive jump. Written by Donny Cates, with art done by Tradd Moore and colors done by Dave Stewart, which I just have to say, this book is beautiful. I think Tradd Moore really captures both Jack Kirby's initial art of the character as well, able to present how fast the Silver Surfer truly is with how distorted the Surfer looks, and Stewart's colors help illustrate that and really pop. Every other panel is a badass template for a tattoo. The setup for the book is that the Silver Surfer, after a kerfuffle, is sent a bit of a detour, billions of years into the past, where he and a few cosmic entities inhabit the vast expanse. He soon would face off with the god of symbiotes, Null. Look, it's a Donny Cates book, just roll with it. And after a desperate struggle, the Silver Surfer flees. Though unable to defeat the Dark God, a guiding voice that can be heard tries directing him, and soon he approaches the living planet Ego. But at this point, he was merely an infant in the eyes of the stars. The Surfer soon loses consciousness, and we see an all too common dream for him. We are brought back to Zenlaw, not to the Surfer, but Norrin Radd, and with the love of his life, Shala Bal. He passes the idea of having children with her, but she questions why they should do that, bringing up how dark the world can be. He pushes back and says that's why they should bring light to it. They hear a commotion outside, and they are greeted by an imposing giant. It was not Galactus, rather, it was the Silver Surfer himself, ready to destroy Zenlaw. I absolutely adored this setup in issue 3 because it completely reevaluates Norrin Radd and the Surfer as a character. The start of the book mentions how much the Silver Surfer feels guilt for being a Herald, how many planets he has destroyed, and here he is immediately confronted with that very idea, that he has become death, a cold being that only brings darkness, similar to Null himself. A disgrace to who he was as Norn, who fought to bring light into the world, who cared for his fellow man, a man who felt that he and the gods had the same rights to live. But he believes he has lost that right. He views himself as death incarnate, someone who has doomed many people to their demise. Norn had an opportunity afforded to him to have his planet spared by offering himself, a noble sacrifice on paper, but a privilege to many of the thousands of planets that were destroyed by what he sees as his own hands. The Surfer wouldn't give Norn that privilege. He believes his actions are so awful he is below forgiveness. At least Galactus gave him the chance to live. But Norn isn't the only one in pain, as Ego awakes the Surfer with cries. Though he has growing pains, there has been something else. He feels a tumor eating away at his very core. The Surfer volunteers himself and delves deep into the planet, and he's horrified at what he finds. An incubator for his would-be master, Galactus. The Surfer, now shaken, standing before his master, defenseless, he raises his hand, ready to strike him down. Before he would become the devourer of worlds, before quintillions would lose their lives by his hands, before he would join Galactus at his side, he finally can be able to atone for his sins. But there's another watching close by, and before Norn can make his choice, the Watcher stops him. If he goes through with killing Galactus, he will ironically doom more, as Galactus is key to keeping the galaxy balanced. Without him, the entire thing would collapse. Norn struggles to reconcile with this fact. He so desperately wants to atone, but the Watcher wants him to at least talk to Galactus before he goes through with his decision. He enters, and instead of facing a Titan, he finds only a man, Galen, before he ever donned the identity of Galactus. The two speak, that he must die for what he will eventually become, that he will feast upon countless worlds in the name of some unforeseen scale. Galen only looks back, solemn, and tells him that he's using the very same justification. Galactus will one day bring balance to the universe through unimaginable death. The Surfer would be no better than Galactus if he killed a man before he ever committed a crime. That you cannot defeat darkness with more darkness. The Surfer looks away, realizing the error of his way, that he is no better than his master at this moment, and for good reason. A lot of Galactus and Norn's backstory do align. Once noble men from near utopias, a galactic force takes them from their home, imbues them with a cosmic force, and must carry out atrocity after atrocity in the name of balance. While Galactus lost that sentimentality, even ending up perpetuating that same vitriol to Norn, the Silver Surfer kept in touch with his Zen Law side. Every act as the Herald weighs heavy on his mind and wishes he can break free from this cycle of darkness. He leaves Galen, broken, but that's not the worst of all. His body is breaking and his duel with Null encroaches. He asks the planet Ego for one final favor, to imbue Norn every single life force of the celestial plane, so maybe they have a fighting chance. But this fight isn't to be won. He knows he cannot kill Null. He cannot kill the darkness. But what he does know, that the weapon he got from Ego was not one of war. That he will not be like his creator. With the little bit of light he has left, he forges into the galactic seed. His shell breaks and his essence seeps into the universe. You may not be able to hide from your own shadow, completely eradicate the darkness, but what you can do is find the little bit of light you do have and protect it. Let it grow, and hopefully one day it will blossom into something beautiful. As for Norn, it did that day. Norn, across eons, he brought life to countless planets that he would eventually watch die. Though he may witness their demise, for a brief time they were alive because of his sacrifice. No longer the Silver Surfer, no longer death, no longer darkness. He is Norn Rad, a noble light in a great unending darkness, bringing true balance to the galaxy with his light. Though he was never able to bring that light into this world with his love Shalabal, he was able to bring that light across the cosmos because of his love for Shalabal. Have you ever finished reading a comic that reminds you why you love the medium so much? That, for me, is our final book today, Silver Surfer Requiem, for Marvel Knights, an imprint that takes place separate from 616. Genuinely speaking, this is the quintessential Silver Surfer book. Like, this might be top 5 comics for me, I'm not even joking. From the first issue, I was already tearing up, but by the ending, I was bawling. I think you would be doing a disservice to yourself by just hearing hearing me analyze it. My words would not begin to describe the beauty of this book. Please read this book, come back, it's only 4 issues. By the time you're at this point in the video, you could have already finished reading it. We open up, the Silver Surfer staring off into the beauty of space as a terrible thought lingers in his mind. Intercut to the Baxter Building, home of not only Marvel's first family, but Norrin's second. It acts as a nice contrast from the grandiose scale of the Silver Surfer following the mundane morning routine of the Fantastic Four. Johnny and Ben talking about the paper while bugging Reed. Ben makes an ironic comment about reading obituaries for reasons we are soon to learn, as the Silver Surfer interrupts their banter. I feel this is a very human approach, as in real life, many tragedies don't have this nail-biting tension to them. They interrupt our day-to-day life. Case in point with the appearance of the Silver Surfer, but he's not here to warn the Earth of Galactus or another cosmic threat. It's played off as getting bad news from a family member. Norrin asks for the more naive members to leave, only wanting to speak to Reed and Sue, not because he thinks less of them, but because he wants to shield them from the pain. Ben and Johnny gossip amongst themselves, waiting hours for them to return. Only clue into what's happening is Sue Storm passing by, and she looks like she has been crying, barely able to contain it for a mere moment, as she has to endure the news that her friend is dying, and not an easy one. It'll be one of most agonizing pain as his body fails him. Worst of all, the smartest man, Reed Richards, says there's nothing he can do to save him, and that he only has a month left. But the Silver Surfer only smiles. I understand that on Earth, there are insects, monarch butterflies, that often live only 2 weeks. To them, 2 weeks is a generation. So if I have but a month, then I have 2 generations of life yet ahead of me. I am blessed, Richards. I am blessed. Thank you. Fuck, I love this book. I'm sorry. What works so well about this setup is that it places someone who is all-powerful, someone who would be seemingly immortal in a very human scenario. This isn't a fight to overcome, but this is a fight of acceptance, an idea that continues into the second issue. Still, in New York, we see Spider-Man fighting off a run-of-the-mill villain and worrying about getting Mary Jane a birthday present. But suddenly, the Silver Surfer appears, stops the criminal. Peter wants to stop and celebrate, but the Silver Surfer sulks. After some nagging, they stop at a rooftop where the Surfer vents to Peter. Despite Earth being a second home to him, he feels that he hasn't done enough for its people. If he's someone so powerful, could not solve all the world's problems, then what does that say about him? What legacy does he leave? Him and Spider-Man wax poetically, talking about the futility of grand structural changes, that it's seemingly impossible to change the world, that it would hurt more than to help. Noticing that Norrin is still distraught, Peter changes the conversation. Why the board? The Surfer laughs at the simple question. Being a Herald allowed him to fly across the stars, feel the very beating heart of the universe. To deprive himself of such pleasure by having a ship made no sense to him. Words would be a disservice, and offers Peter a piece of his power cosmic. Peter actually gets an idea, a solution to his problem and the Surfer's previous question, as he grabs someone, Mary Jane Watson. He had experienced a lifetime worth of excitement, so it's only fair to her if she had that for a few moments, and she does. Chasing the stars, boundless as she has never felt freedom like this before. I think why Spider-Man is so powerful in this issue is that he's quite literally the face of the friendly neighborhood superhero. It directly challenges the Silver Surfer's belief that he won't leave a legacy on Earth because he didn't change it. By giving up the opportunity to have the power cosmic, denounces this notion. It was a gesture so personal and only impacted a singular person, but it's something that will never be forgotten. That our legacy will not be defined by how much we shape the world. Our legacy starts with the ones around us, causing the Surfer to have a realization, just maybe, you can do an act so grand, so great, and leave an impact on so many individuals that while he was not able to change the world, in his wake, many people will be able to. Before he departs, he raises his hand, a shining beam sprawls across the sky, and just for a few seconds, everyone can feel it. Everyone knows what it's like to be free, hoping that may leave an impact on at least one person. He thanks Peter and departs from Earth, light years away. The Silver Surfer blazes through space. He's caught in a massive battlefield, galactic cruisers spitting plasma, and for what? It's pretty evident what JMS is trying to illustrate here, as we see the two warring leaders leisure away while millions surrender their lives. They chat with the surfer for generations. Before even their first encounter, they were all well aware of each other, and since that glimpse, brandishing one another as heretics. Space travel was only invented so they could invade one another. They finish by asking the surfer to decide which one is the winner, as their people wish for this war to be over. But when the surfer says he cannot, as he believes they are both equal, they just continue to casually watch the pointless war, an obvious allusion to our own world, where many wars are on the basis on a difference of religion. But the issue goes further, condemning the very notion of valor in such conflicts. There is no honor in young men throwing away their lives in service. They leave no legacy behind besides a statistic. And then, these are not lives truly lived, they are lives wasted. Through the surfer, the author rejects the idea as he goes to destroy their leaders, sanctuaries, and warships, only leaving a final message that they have been tricked into giving up their unity when that is their greatest strength. The surfer flies off, heading to his final resting place, his home, Zenla. His journey home is not a peaceful one. His body aches in spasms. He is greeted with the familiar yet solemn face. Shalabal pleads with him to let her give him the last of her power cosmic, but he refuses. He begs her to regret nothing because he does not regret a moment spent living for her. Others line up to meet Norrin. They touch his hand as a final goodbye, but it is not all joy, as the very master who claimed Norrin so long ago, Galactus, terrified that Galactus came here to destroy their home, Norrin cannot move and needs the help of the people to carry him to Galactus. As he's raised by his master, it is revealed that he came here to ratify their vow, that nobody will ever lay harm to Zenla. He will be its protector. Finally, at ease, Norrin closes his eyes, and in his final thoughts, he can only think of the one he holds dearest. Norrin isn't the only one with final wishes. Shala has one. That Galactus take his body and truly let him fly amongst the stars, turning his body into one so bright that it touches the edge of the galaxy. That may his legacy be remembered for how his light touched everyone around him, as a friend to some, a legend to many, a lover to one. His name was Norrin Rad, the Silver Surfer. I think it's really easy to feel that our problems are not that big, that there's always someone who has it worse. I think why the Silver Surfer is so impactful to me as a reader is that while he may be this immensely powerful figure, he still suffers from these very human feelings. That no matter how strong you are, those feelings weigh heavy. It's okay to have these issues. What truly matters is that you can persevere through the pain. Then that makes us going through these problems even stronger. With that, have a good night whenever you watch this video. If you like the video, you already know what to do.